What is up, you guys? This is Mark from the Chumpcast. I am back again with my comic book picks of the week, so stay tuned and let's do this. I would really appreciate it if you would click that subscribe button down below. It really helps the show out. Our first issue we have here is X-Men and Fantastic Four, #1. So this new series is written by Chip Zdarsky. The art is done by Terry Dotson and Rachel Dotson. And this series has started out by revolving mainly around Franklin Richards, who is Reed Richards and Sue Richards' son. Reed Richards is Mr. Fantastic, if you're not aware, and Sue Storm Richards is the Invisible Woman. I feel like we haven't seen a Franklin Richards story, or at least a good one, in a while. Franklin Richards, for those that are unfamiliar, holds some crazy, powerful mutant abilities. What I mean when I say that is he's capable of doing like reality manipulating things, such as creating universes. So he's definitely somebody that could create quite an impact on a wide range of people. So back to the story that's going on in this issue. X-Men and pretty much all the mutants are now living on Krakoa, a secluded island, and they have realized that there is still one very important mutant, Franklin Richards, that they need to go get and bring back to their family. This, of course, is creating tensions amongst the Fantastic Four. X-Men show up and basically try to get Franklin Richards to go through a portal with them back to Krakoa. And of course, Reed Richards and Sue Richards, with it being their son, they don't want this to happen. This actually might be my favorite first issue of any series this year. Zdarsky just tells some really good stories, and overall, he's just a master of his craft. Next up is Batman 88. This is written by James Tynion IV. Cover art is done by none other than Tony S. Daniels, and we have some awesome art throughout the book done by Guillaume March. So I think some of the most important things we have happening in this issue is Catwoman, the Riddler, and Penguin all have this dialogue and are talking about things that they did in the past that they are now bringing back to the surface, and we don't know what that is yet. I was also a little bit bummed out because we have not gotten that first appearance of the designer, which we've all been waiting for, but we do have a very popular character, I'll say, especially right now, I don't know if that gave it away, show up at the very end of this issue. I'm still pretty happy with how this new Batman run is going. Guillaume March's art is just flawless, and this is a book that I'm going to keep on my pull list. And another awesome book we have written by Chip Zdarsky, Daredevil #17. The art is done by Jorge Fornes, and with it being the 17th issue, if you are behind or you haven't started it yet, I believe you can pick up volumes 1 and 2 of the trade paperback, which I really recommend because this has just been a very good story from the start. So some big things happen in this issue. We get the name reveal of an assassin that is now going to be sent by the Stormwinds to hunt down Daredevil. These covers have been pretty sweet, especially the last, I think the last like 4 issues have been similar to this. I will say that if you pay attention to the cover art, you may have already had a hint of who that assassin is. And I'll just say again, the name that was revealed really has me pumped up for the upcoming issues. Next, we have Spider-Verse #5, featuring Spider-Man Noir. The writer on this issue is Christos Gaye, I think, or Gage. Sorry if I butchered that. And the art is done by Juan Vieira, I think. So I actually had no idea that this was coming out this week. If you go back to my new comic book picks last week, you'll see that I reviewed #4 of this, and it's pretty uncommon that we'll get a back-to-back week of a series. I'm not mad about it though. And if you didn't realize already by the title, this issue revolves around Miles Morales meeting up with Spider-Man Noir. This is another solid installment of the series. We have some great dialogue between Spider-Man Noir and Miles Morales, and I also love that they tied in connections to the Web of Life. And we get a pretty interesting antagonist. So, as I said last week, do not snooze on this. Alright, we're down to the last few. Next up, I have Ant-Man #1. This one's being written by Zeb Willis, and the art is done by Dylan Burnett. Scott Lang has returned as Ant-Man in this new miniseries, but to be honest, I'm still kind of on the fence as to whether I'm going to keep picking this one up. I will say I did enjoy this first issue, especially from a humor standpoint, but Ant-Man just isn't one of my favorite characters in the Marvel Universe. But if he's one of your favorite characters, cool. Pick this one up. I would recommend it. That actually probably sounded more like my French bulldog rather than Darth Vader. Okay, Star Wars, Darth Vader, number 1. This one's being written by Greg Pak. Art is done by Raffaello Ienco, and this cover is done by none other than my boy, Inyuk Lee. So I'm not even going to try to act like I know a lot about Star Wars, because I don't. If you listen to any of our podcasts ever, whenever we talk about Star Wars, you know I'm just not the biggest Star Wars guy. However, I did like this first issue. It had some good pacing, and it even had a reveal at the end that I could even understand. And I was somewhat shocked by, especially with all the hype we had with the rise of Kylo Ren these last few months. I wouldn't actually call it hype, I guess, because the series has been really good so far. You just know if you've been going out and getting these books that first issue of The Rise of Kylo Ren was really hard to get. It sold out on the shelves the first day, and even the second printing has been selling out. With that being said, since this is a new Star Wars Marvel series, I would just keep up with this and grab it every week it comes out. Okay, so I know I don't have a book in front of me, but I do want to give an honorable mention to a new series that started. It's based off of a anime Netflix series, and it is Agatha Zuko number 1. I'm sure if you keep up to date on anime, you've already heard of this series that's on Netflix. So Ami Press is publishing this book, and if you're like me and a huge Rick and Morty fan, you know that Rick and Morty was first published, or is still published, by Ami Press. And that Rick and Morty number 1 issue is pretty hard to find, and it is a key comic to have. So I'm not going to take my chances and miss out on this. I've watched a few episodes of this, but I'm not too far into it on Netflix. But I do want to get the book because I feel like it definitely has some potential to retain a good amount of value over the years. And I also thought that cover A and cover B, they're pretty badass. So yeah, that is my honorable mention, Agatha Zuko number 1. Okay, now I promise this is my last pick of the week. It is not technically a individual comic book issue. I have here the new Harleen hardcover trade by Stefan Sajic. So I really hope you guys read this series last year. It was definitely in my top 3, if not my favorite story of 2019 for comic books. Stefan Sajic wrote this book and he did the art, and just the way that the art and the dialogue throughout the whole series just kind of worked together and it flowed so well. It had that like saga type feel to it, where you just went throughout the book and everything just popped and looked great, and the character actions that were happening in the art within the story were dead on to what was happening in the dialogue, if that makes any sense. And this hardcover is just pretty amazing. It's got some really cool art within the cover throughout the book. There's some other cool Harleen pictures there. Overall, this is just a really awesome trade to have. And the cover itself, if you peel back the cover of the cover, you get this, which is just pretty sweet. All right, guys, we'll pick this one up. Definitely pick this up. Harleen by Stefan Sajic. Well, that's it. Again, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. If you would go ahead and click that subscribe button down below, I would really appreciate it. But until next time, jumps out.